Welcome and good afternoon. This is Commish Orr, and today we're going to give a little update again on the next four games that took place in the Baseball Maelstrom Triple-Elimination Tournament using History Maker Baseball's all-time franchise great set. So, without further ado, let's see what happened in these four games. These are the first games, by the way, of the second round of the tournament, and we'll look at the tournament bracket here at the end. But there were some exciting games here. These are all in the winners bracket, by the way. So these are all teams that did not lose on day one. So all of these teams came into this game having won their first game and advancing in the tournament. So first of all, Seattle was taking on Toronto Blue Jays. Dave Stieb on the mound, and he didn't have a very good outing. Allowed 6 runs in the second inning, capped by a Ken Griffey Jr. 3-run homer. I mean, prior to that, he had allowed a 2-run triple to Kenji Jojima. Hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, so yeah, they chased him after he hit Jay Buhner to lead off the third. That was it for Dave Stieb. Meanwhile, Randy Johnson pitched pretty well. He allowed a 2-run homer to George Bell, and he allowed a run in the first inning, actually. Jose Bautista singled in John Olerud for their 3 runs, but that was all he would allow in his 6 innings of work. He did strike out 7, allowed 5 hits, walked 3. Clancy came in for Toronto and actually pitched pretty well. His 6 innings of work, he only allowed 4 hits and 1 earned run, but the damage had already been done at that point. And so Seattle actually took a 7-3 lead into the 9th. Toronto put a couple guys on base, but then George Bell grounded into a double play, and Lloyd Moseby struck out to end the game. So Toronto, or excuse me, again, maybe I'm saying this wrong, but Seattle took this one 7-4, mostly due to Stieb allowing so many runs in those couple of innings. Their second inning here really did him in. And so, yeah, Seattle advances. They're the lowest American League seed. Remember, the teams are seeded by their franchise winning percentage. And Seattle's on the bottom of that list for the American League. So, but they advance again. Anything can happen in a one-game individual games. And so that's kind of what's interesting about the Triple-Elimination Tournament is, anything can happen in individual games. So you get teams that are, big upsets like this. Well, actually, Seattle beat the New York Yankees in the first game. So you get big upsets like that because even the best team only has, not 100% winning chance. And then you combine that. The other good thing about the tournament is that it's triple elimination. So a team has to lose 3 games before they're out of it. And so that helps some of the really good teams have a better shot, and some of the really bad teams have a lower shot because they only get a couple of chances. But meanwhile, you're not just knocked out from losing 1 game or 2 games even. So even though the New York Yankees lost the first day, they can still battle their way back into it pretty easily, as long as they don't lose 3 games. So that's kind of what I like about the Triple Elimination Tournament. In any event, let's head over to Detroit as the Chicago White Sox took on the Detroit Tigers in Detroit. And Chicago actually was in control in this game against Hal Newhouser. Hal Newhouser pitched 6 innings, only allowed 6 hits, but he walked 10. You can see it here. He walked 2 in the first inning here. He walked a couple batters in the second before allowing Carlton Fisk to hit a 3-run homer. Then he walked a couple more batters, loaded the bases before striking out Dick Allen and Carl Reynolds to get out of the inning. Walked another batter in the third, another batter in the fourth, another batter in the fifth, Finally, he walked batter in the seventh to lead off the seventh, Frank Thomas, and that was all for Hal Newhouser. Despite that, he only allowed 4 runs, but he exited the game with a 4-2 lead because Detroit didn't score their first 2 runs until the 5th inning on a bases-clearing triple by Ty Cobb. 2-run triple there with 2 runners on. And then Miguel Cabrera homered in the next inning to cut that lead to 4-3. And then in the 7th, there was an error to lead things off. Eddie Collins made an error to lead things off in the 7th, and a couple singles later, and the game was tied at 4. So the other interesting thing about this game, first time I've ever in any cards and dice played game of mine ever seen a triple play, and it happened here in the top of the 6th. Again, Newhouser was struggling. He allowed a Carlton Fisk single and a Luke Appling single to lead off the inning. And then came a rare play as Shoeless Joe lined a sharp one to short, and Alan Trammell caught both runners off base, stepped on second to double off Carlton Fisk, and threw over to first to get Luke Appling to complete the triple play. And so pretty amazing. I hadn't never ever seen that before in one of my sims, and so that was kind of cool to see. And that kind of kind of the story I created was that really changed the momentum, because after that, Detroit ended up tying the game, and we went into extra innings. I believe, Willie Hernandez had a 1-2-3 10th for the Tigers. And then Roberto Hernandez, who had pitched a 1-2-3 ninth, walked Harry Heilman and Norm Cash to lead off the 10th. And Ted Lyons came in to try to stop the damage, but promptly allowed a base hit to Hank Greenberg to end the game, a walk-off single, as Detroit takes this one 5-4. So Detroit advances 2-0. These two teams were pretty close in seeding. I think number 4 and number 5 in the American League, so or something like that. So pretty close seeding, but Detroit takes this one and they'll advance. Let's head over to Homestead, who plays their home games in Forbes Field, actually, in this league. And Miami was coming to town. Miami, the other number 16 seed, the worst seed in the National League. And Homestead and the Yomiuri Giants, I placed kind of a middle seed because there wasn't really a good way of determining where they should be placed, since they hadn't competed against, since their records were not against major league teams, but against teams in their own leagues. So I just put them in the middle of the pack, kind of. And Miami came to Homestead. Homestead got out to an early lead when Jerry Benjamin hit a 2-run homer in the 2nd. This is against Jose Fernandez, who I believe passed away in an accident after only a couple years playing for the Marlins. So rest in peace to him. Miami got those 2 runs right back with a Cliff Floyd 2-run homer. This is against Ray Brown for Homestead. And then Brown allowed another 2-run homer to Gary Sheffield in the 6th to put Miami up 4-3 at that point. Now, Homestead would come back into it in the bottom of the 6th and score 4 runs in that inning, thanks to a couple of base hits. David Watley hit an RBI single here. George Scales hit a 2-run single. And so they retook the lead 7-4 at that point. Miami got a couple more runs in the 7th. Again, thanks to a couple of base hits here in the 7th. And so with the 7-6 lead, Homestead went into the 8th inning And Dula came in for Homestead and retired the first two batters, but then allowed a triple to Stanton, walked Juan Pierre, and then there was a 3-run homer by Pudge Rodriguez here to put Miami up 9-7. So, and that was kind of where things would end. Now, Homestead would threaten in the ninth, the bottom of the ninth, against Armando Benitez, when Matt Carlisle got on base with a single. And after Josh Gibson struck out, he was 0 for 5 this game. Buck Leonard hit a double to put men on second and third. So the tying run there was on second. But then Judd Wilson and Vic Harris both grounded out to Carlos Delgado to end the game. And so Miami advances again, taking this one 9-7. Finally, we head over to New York as the Philadelphia Phillies were taking on the New York Mets. Couple of Hall of Famers here. Steve Carlton on the mound for the Phillies against Tom Seaver for the Mets. And Seaver actually had the advantage in this one, as Carlton couldn't really seem to find his rhythm. Here in the third inning, he allowed a couple of RBI singles to Cleon Jones and Mike Piazza here, and then another RBI single in the following inning to Edgardo Alfonso. And so the Mets had a 3-0 lead at that point, and the Phillies really could just never get anything going. They had some runners in scoring position, but they just couldn't score. And so Seaver actually took a shutout into the ninth. He had only allowed 6 hits at that point, and Ryan Howard led off the ninth by grounding out. But then Chuck Klein hit a base hit, and Mike Schmidt hit a 2-run homer to ruin the shutout and cut the lead to 3-2. And Armando Benitez came into this game, and after allowing a single, he struck out Greg Luzinski and got Mike Lieberthal to fly out to end the game. You'll notice Benitez had also gotten the save in the prior game. He gets a save in this one as well, since he played for both teams, the Marlins and the Mets. Pretty interesting that he got those on the same day. And so the Mets take this one 3-2 to advance. Now, the interesting thing about Mike Schmidt is that he was playing because Dick Allen, the normal starter for Philadelphia at third, for this game at least, suffered an injury, some kind of injury or illness that kept him out of this game only. And so Schmidt came in to, and again, Schmidt, a pretty good substitute anyway. But yeah, he cut things close here. But they still fall 3-2 here in this game. So let's take a look at the tournament, see where that leaves us so far. We see Seattle here has advanced. We'll call this the Elite 8 of the winners bracket. Detroit, the 4 and 5. So Detroit was the higher seed at number 4. They beat the White Sox to advance, and they'll play Seattle in tomorrow's game. Tomorrow in game time, not tomorrow in real time. So that's the American League side of things. And if we look down here in this the losers bracket, we can see Toronto and the White Sox waiting for whoever wins these games in the losers bracket, which are all taking place today. Meanwhile, down at the National League side of things, we see Miami advancing to play the Mets, who are the 12th seeded team. So they'll play, and then, again, taking a look at the losers bracket, we can see that these games have to take place before Homestead or Philadelphia know who they're going to play. But the next 4 games, actually, we go back up here to the top. The next 4 games will be LA at Cleveland, the LA Angels, I should say, at Cleveland, Baltimore at Oakland. Those are the 2 American League games, the 2 next ones. And then in the National League, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Arizona Diamondbacks facing off against the LA Dodgers to complete the winners bracket games. and round out the Elite Eight, we'll say. So, as always, head over to baseballmaelstrom.com to catch up on all of the action. You can find write-ups on every game as I play it, just a little paragraph write-up. A link to the bracket if you want to see the full bracket like I just showed. You can see that there. Today's games, you can see what's been played, what hasn't been played. You can click on any of these if you want to head to the page for that game and get the little recap and box score for you to view. You can see yesterday's games over here as well. So all of that is available to see on the website, as well as stats. If you click on the stats button, you can go to the ball stat stats, so you can see the leaders and all of that stuff on there as well. So let me know again down in the comments. I asked this before. I'll ask it again. Who do you think? Who do you think's going to walk away with the tournament win? What do you think so far of the tournament? How things have gone? Any surprises to you? And just general comments. Leave those down below as well. I want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a great evening.